Welcome to the Strong Enough podcast, where we talk about the challenges and celebrate the triumphs of people from all walks of life. I'm your host, Claudia. Today's guest is going to talk about why philanthropy is so meaningful to her. She's going to share some very personal experiences that she's been through, and those experiences made her want to help others even more. She's also going to talk about her passion, which is makeup, and she's going to share some tips and tricks that you can use to feel even more beautiful. Please help me welcome Christina Flach. Christina, how are you doing today?
I'm very well. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. I have to tell you,
My pleasure.
Just the few minutes that we've spoken already, I just absolutely love your energy. You have a very, calming but confident energy. So
Nice.
I love it.
Oh, well, that's good. I'm glad I'm giving off that vibe today.
You are giving off that vibe. So I bet you got a lot of other vibes to give off. What I would love is if you would tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am the creator and founder of Pretty Girl Makeup and the soon-to-be company called I'm Too Busy and TV show I'm Too Busy. I'm a beauty expert on California Live NBC. I am a celebrity makeup artist. I'm a philanthropist. I'm a mother of 5. And I think that is all my titles.
I'm tired just hearing all of the titles.
It sounds much more than it is, let me tell you.
I want to start with the makeup and kind of what I'm guessing is one of your passions, because I think a lot of times as women, we don't realize how it makes us feel to feel pretty. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
I do. Yeah, I deal with a lot of chronic illnesses, and there's a lot of days that, I feel like shit. But I put on a nice face and it makes me feel a little bit better just to do
Definitely.
that.
It does.
So do you see that a lot? Is that something
100%.
common?
Yes. I think that we're all visual beings. I even know for myself, when I wake up in the morning and I look in the mirror and I'm like, what happened? I got hit with the ugly stick last night. I thought it was a night of slumber and I wake up like I've gotten into a fight with myself. It just kind of, my energy feels low. And then if I just put some concealer on, fill in the brows, just a little bit of eye, a little lip, I just feel better about myself. And that's just a fact. And I think it is important to be the best version of yourself every day, whether it be, we all, we need to exercise, we need to eat well, we need to rest, we need to laugh, we need to do all the things we need to do. But I think for me, and I see it with my clients, it gives them a sense of confidence when you're walking into a meeting. Or I actually had a client a few years ago, and this one really sticks in my mind. She was a teenager, she still is, and she had no idea how to put on makeup. And I showed her, just some basic things of selecting the right colors and foundation and everything. And 2 weeks after we had the session, she called me and said, can I share something with you? And I said, yes, absolutely. What? And she said, I felt so good about myself after we had our session. I applied for a study abroad program and I got it. I'm going to Prague for 2 weeks to study art. And we had talked about, living our best life and dreaming big and, doing all the things that we want to do to accomplish it. And so it made me feel so good that I was able to give this young woman a little boost of extra confidence to do something that was out of her comfort zone. And I think, getting comfortable being uncomfortable is something I've recently learned in the last few years. I've pushed myself doing, for example, the California Live on NBC as a beauty expert. Never in my life did I think I would be on TV speaking about beauty and wellness. I've always been behind the camera person, being a makeup artist. But it's actually given me so much more confidence after having done these shows and these podcasts, because I've kind of put myself out there being comfortable, being uncomfortable. And good things happen from that uncomfortable place.
I totally agree with you. And I wish more people would realize that, that we have to get uncomfortable sometimes to really find ourselves. Would
Mhm.
love it if you would talk a little bit more about that, because you're very successful. You didn't need to step in front of the camera per se, but it was an opportunity for you to do something different, and it's opened up a whole new world for you. So, knowing that, will you talk to those people who are still playing small and afraid to step outside?
I think people are so afraid of failure and failing. And I don't feel that failure is something you should be. I like to remove that word. There's no failures in life if you're setting a goal and executing it. And I even like to remove the word trying, because I think it gives
Mm.
wiggle room to get out. So I think if you set a goal, decide what you're going to do and do it, I can promise you there's going to be bumps and learning lessons, but that's what it is. There's no failure. You have to enjoy the process. For people that are wanting to be an entrepreneur or, do something different in your life, change is only going to happen when things get uncomfortable and bumpy. It's just the way it is. But no, but now that I know that feeling of uneasiness and, oh my God, I don't want to do this, I'm scared, I know something great's going to happen from that. So when you start getting that confidence of knowing something good's going to happen from these moments of unpleasantness, you're more willing to put yourself out there.
I love that. One of the things you mentioned was philanthropy, and I know that some some situations in your personal life have led you even to become more philanthropic and to support some causes that maybe you may not have otherwise. I would love
Mhm.
it if you would talk a little bit about your journey, into what you choose to support and why it's so meaningful for you.
Well, my son Bo passed away 17 years ago from SIDS. And so I started after that. I didn't want him to be forgotten. And so I was involved with the Northern Lights School in Oakland, California. It's a private school for underprivileged children that are pretty much 90% are there on scholarship. And so I really wanted nutrition and education are incredibly important to me. And so I wanted, all the kids to have the same privilege and amazing education that my kids have had. So I started an educational fund for my son, Bo. And Bo is a twin of Ben, and Ben is now 17 and 6'3". And he has been raising money for his twins' educational fund by playing golf in the celebrity golf tournament every year. He's raised over $150,000. This past October, he raised 75,000, and that's going to mean 7 kids are going to be able to go to private school for a year. And so it just makes me feel really good that my kids have all, they all give back in some way. They've all helped at the school with their time and effort. And I really admire that so much of them. So, and then my husband passed away 6 years ago from sepsis. And so we started another educational fund for him, Ken Flach Educational Fund. And then I started working with the Sepsis Alliance. Because that's what he passed away from. So I've been raising awareness for sepsis, telling people about the signs of sepsis and how it can be prevented and cured. So sepsis isn't a infection of the blood that attacks all your vital organs. And so if you have an infection in any place in your body, whether it be a cut on your knee or in your mouth, or in my husband's case, he had bronchitis that turned to pneumonia. He wasn't seen by his doctors, and he passed away in 4 days. And so I don't want that to happen to anyone else. So if your listeners go to sepsis.org and scroll down, there's a little guide, a little diagram that says, it talks about the signs of sepsis. And so the first sign is, there's an infection. It's under time. And so T is for temperature. You can be hot or cold. I is for infection in some place in your body. M is for mental decline, and E is for excruciating pain. You feel like you're dying because you are. Your vital organs are going to shut down. once someone has sepsis and survives, you get to the ER, make sure that they, give you a blood test and they put you on an IV antibiotic, you will survive. But there is definitely a short window. And people that get sepsis and survive typically get it 2 or 3 times after that. They're more prone to get it than people that haven't had it at all. So it's just, you have to be very aware. So besides those things, there is also a garden at the Edna McGuire School in Mill Valley, California, that I helped start with my friend Lisa Zimmer, who was the principal at the time. And there's an outdoor classroom called the Bo Friedman Outdoor Classroom and Garden. There's fruit trees and garden and chickens, and the kids all are, they're growing vegetables and using them for science experiments and learning to cook with. And, I think kids are going to be more inclined to eat a tomato if they've planted the seed themselves and picked it. So nutrition is incredibly important to me as an adult. I wake up every morning and I make a green juice and I try to eat really healthy, because I think I speak a lot about beauty from the inside out. And I think that if you eat well and drink a lot of water, don't drink a lot of alcohol and eat a lot of sugar, you are going to look and feel like the best version of you. And that was a lot of words.
They were great words, though. They were great words. And I'm your worst case scenario when it comes to nutrition, because I don't drink water. It's a whole other episode.
Oh my God. We're going to have a bit.
Yeah,
Girl, you are going to have some major health issues because water.
I do.
Then look, I walk around. You've just got to get one of these, and you probably don't like the way water tastes because it's Throw a tea bag in there. Get some flavor. Throw a piece of fruit. Give it a little bit of flavor. I put in these ginger packets I get from Trader Joe's. Mm-hmm. I put in like a green tea because it's anti-inflammatory. I'll put in a hibiscus tea. I put in a little bit of malic acid because that also helps with like kidney stones and stuff. I never get them, but my family does. So I want to prevent it. But drinking water, if you want to be healthy, you have to drink water, because dehydration, your organs need water to flush themselves out. Your skin needs, everything. So I'm going to be on you now for the rest of your day. You just have to care. If you get in the habit, I just did a segment on this, a few months ago on NBC about spa water. So, everyone has a bunch of mason jars. Some people do, some people don't, but go buy some if you don't have any, and buy a case. And what I do is, like, when my kids are around, I will fill them up with water. I'll throw some fresh mint in. I'll throw a little watermelon slice, whatever, squeeze in lemon, orange juice, whatever. And I've just gotten them in the habit. When you walk out the door, grab a water bottle. And because when you're in the car, think about how much you're in the car doing errands, picking up kids. You have nothing to do but listen to the music and drink your water. So that's a good place for you to do it, because it's right there.
I love the tea bag idea. I have to tell you, I've never heard that one before. So I'm a fan of that.
I think you're going to like it.
I'm going to give that a try.
I think give it a try, but you're going to just notice your skin's going to be better. Your overall well-being will be much better.
You've convinced me. So
yay!
I'm going to give this a try.
My day is complete.
Yeah, we're done here.
We're done.
So when you talked about your family, you've been through a lot, and I'm sure you've been through so much more than that, but it would be really easy to be angry and bitter and sad. And instead, you have taken those experiences and allowed them to give you a purpose, another purpose, I'll say, an additional purpose. So what in you made you able to do that, to not go the route of being bitter and angry, and instead going the route of, let me help people, let me raise awareness, let me do these other things that are meaningful?
My kids have been through enough. And if I'm a mess and unstable and angry and bitter, it's going to affect them, and they don't deserve that. And so it's my responsibility to. And I'm also not a person that's negative and depressed and sad. I get sad. I get angry and I get, bummed out, of course, but I always know that it's because of, am I hungry? Am I thirsty? Have I not worked out? Did I not get enough sleep? Those are my triggers for feeling not so great about life. So I really try to avoid those things. And when I start feeling like that, I'm like, okay, what do I need to do to feel good? Also, learning to self-soothe. And what does that mean? Self-soothing to me is like, okay, knowing yourself to know, like, sometimes I just need to shut the computer, go for a walk, go to the mall, go get my nails done, do anything other than what I'm doing. Sometimes you just need to shut the day down and go to bed or go watch Netflix. Do something that makes you feel good. I will go buy myself some flowers sometimes. And I make sure that like my surroundings are beautiful. I like having candles lit. I like having fresh flowers. I like fresh air. I like keeping things tidy and organized because, I work out of my house when I'm not on set. And so I don't want to be somewhere that's messy and unorganized because it feels chaotic to me. And that's just not a good feeling. So I know that's something that I don't particularly like. So that's another thing I do. So I think when you really start knowing yourself and knowing what brings you joy and having people around you that make you laugh and smile and love you and that are not causing a bunch of havoc, that's important too.
What would you say to somebody who doesn't understand the difference between, having moments? It's okay to be sad, like you said, and it's okay to have that moment of I'm shutting the laptop, I'm going into my quiet place, whatever it is, and staying there. I think that's where a lot of people get stuck, is they stay there.
Well, it's a choice. I find that to be a choice, and it's not a choice I'm willing to make. I think it's incredibly selfish because it affects other people. Mm-hmm. And then I also think, I remember I was on a hike one day up in the hills when I needed a moment, and I could hear my husband saying to me he did not like seeing me sad, looking down from up there, seeing me sad and depressed. So then I thought, well, I'm really not honoring him or my son or my other angels up there, that I'm just angry and bitter and not happy and not having love and laughter and joy in my life. So I don't think some people feel, death is such an odd thing. I think as Americans, we don't, it's always if someone's going to die. It's not an if, it's a when. And I think it's important when you love someone, let them know and don't mess around. Don't waste time with, oh, I'll see that person later. I tell everyone I love them every day, because I've had so many instances where my people have died unexpectedly. So I don't want anyone to ever feel that they didn't know that I love them. And, I think happiness is a choice. I choose to be happy. I choose to help others. I choose to be positive because no one's going to want to be around someone that's negative and angry. And sometimes I fake it. I fake it a lot sometimes. Even if I'm not feeling it, I fake it till it feels right. And then it feels better. But definitely, I think helping others is something that you can choose to do. There's always someone worse off than you. We always think, oh, my life's the worst, right? No, there's always someone with a much more horrific story. So I really feel that helping others makes me feel better.
You mentioned it's a choice, and I totally agree with you on that. And I don't understand why sometimes people make the choice to stay in the sad, angry phase versus making the choice. It's kind of like the whole smile and frown thing where I don't remember the number, but it takes more muscles to frown than it does to smile or something.
Right.
So why do you think some people do allow themselves to make that choice of just staying in that sad place versus?
Because it's the excuse of not having to get comfortable being uncomfortable, making some change. It's just easier to complain about it. But, no one wants to hear that. No one wants to be around that. And I just think you've got this life, live it to the fullest. What brings you joy? What brings you happiness? What are you passionate about? Figure that out and start doing it. And there's no wrong choices. I think it's absurd to stay in unhealthy relationships for the kids. Show your kids a healthy, happy relationship. So then they will emulate a healthy, happy relationship. If they don't see you having it, they're not going to have it. Do it for your children. Taking the time, make it, for your kids to see that you're reading books, that you're not constantly texting on the phone, that you exercise, that that you eat well. Showing them, not saying it, set the example. And it is a big deal.
You mentioned that all of your kids also are philanthropic. And I love that because I feel like we view that next generation wholly as a bit selfish,
Right.
a bit self-absorbed and, focused within. So what have you done differently so that your kids are so willing and want to give to others?
I think because they've been doing it since they were so young. Like, for example, we did a teddy bear tea one Christmas at the Northern Lights School, and my kids all came and with their cousins, and they were there with all these kids, and they enjoyed it so much. It's just something that they do. We were down in Cabo, and I'm in a Cabo mommies group down there, and we took my youngest son and we went and gave gifts out to all these kids that, have nothing and that live in shacks. And it just it's amazing the good feeling that you get when you see someone's face light up when they get a new present or feeling like they're special. Everyone deserves to feel special and loved in life. And I think my kids have learned to do that from a young age. And it's just something they do. And it doesn't even have to be with an organization. They can do it with their family and friends. I mean, right, my daughter right now is with one of my friends, her aunt, and she's on hospice. And my daughter is there for the week helping her. And I just think, like, what a beautiful quality that she's willing to give of herself to make someone else feel better during a difficult time.
That's a tough one. That's a tough one for adults.
Mm-hmm.
So to have a young adult be so willing to do that and step into that space, what benefits is she going to see from that going forward? What have you instilled in her that doing this hard thing is going to show her 20 years from now?
I think it's going to show them that giving of one's time and effort and love makes such a huge difference to someone else, because sometimes all we need is one person to make us smile or feel good, and it makes a huge difference. So why wouldn't you do that? I just think it's just the right thing to do.
I want to talk about work for a minute.
Okay, let's do.
And you lit up so much when I said that. What led you to makeup? What made you feel like this was the place that you were meant to be and was something that you wanted to do professionally?
It's so interesting how I stumbled upon this career. I really didn't expect to do this. I didn't even know it was really a job, being a makeup artist. I didn't know what it was, but I worked. I remember my mom had a stage 4 brain cancer, and she'd lost her hair and her skin was discolored, and she was going out with my father. And I said to her, "Oh, Mom, let me do your makeup and get you ready to go on your date." And she didn't have a lot of makeup and I didn't have a lot of skills, but we managed to make her look and feel like her old self. And it made such a difference. With cancer patients, when they just they feel worse because they look in the mirror and they're like, "Oh my God, I look awful," which means I guess I feel awful.
Mm-hmm.
It's a terrible cycle. So I started working. I did that on my mom. I worked on my cousins, my friends. And then it went like to proms and weddings, and then, working with different photographers. And then I was very blessed to have enough images together I have 3 agents now, and I got my first agent, and that's when things changed. I was able, getting one celebrity and then another. And, I get to travel. I love to travel. I love to meet new people. It's fun. It's exciting. It's always different. So days I'm not on a photo shoot, like today, I'm here in my office working, I'm working on a magazine article, you and I are chatting. So it's always different. My sister is an executive with Costco and she's amazing. She knows when she's going to work, when she's done. She knows when she's going on holiday. She knows all the things. I am like a gypsy. I have no idea when I'm going to work again. I have no idea about it. I don't know where I'm going or what I'm doing, but I'm okay with that because I'm used to it. But a lot of people, this would make a lot of people very uncomfortable not knowing when you work. I just always know, like, I ask the universe, please bring me a job if things are slow, or I'll book a flight somewhere. Because anytime I book a flight, I always get a call like, oh, so I cancel a lot of flights. But I just think it's super important to figure out what you love doing so much and then figure out how to get paid. Mm-hmm. I love doing what I do. It makes me so happy. It's fun to look on TV or look in a magazine and see one of my clients and see my work. I feel incredibly blessed and proud to see, my work that I do, and it's not just me. It's the lighting guy, it's the stylist, photographer, producer. I mean, there's so many people that you don't even realize are part of the team to do a 30-second commercial. I mean, it's shocking. There could be hundreds of people on set. Tyler Florence is one of my clients. We just did a Visa commercial. It was 2 days. It's going to be 30 seconds. And we worked really hard on it and we're all over the place. So it's a lot, but it's really interesting.
Most people, generally speaking, their work has their name on it, per se.
Right.
Do you ever feel, when you do see those images or the commercials, do you ever get kind of like, well, I want my name to flash up there, like I made these people look good?
I do feel like that sometimes. So I blast it out on social, like, oh, you want to know who did this? Me. It's true. It's really odd. There's always a photo credit for the photographer, but rarely for the makeup artist or the stylist. Yeah, that's just part. You know what? I don't really care because I know I did it and it makes me feel good to know like that was my work.
And you can blast it out on social media.
And I can blast it out and tell everyone I know. Look at this.
What would you say to somebody who is looking at, oh, I want to do this. I love this. It's a passion of mine. I want to figure out how to make money at it. I don't really know what to do. Generally speaking, what advice would you give those people that don't want to do the corporate, just 9 to 5, knowing their schedule every day and knowing when holiday is and when it isn't? Speak to those people for a minute.
Well, I think it's important to go ask for help. I mean, people are so much more willing to help than you think. I'm really blessed. Like, I get to have people in my chair that are experts in their field and I can ask them questions. And I think people are very willing to help. Go intern or go, ask if it's another makeup artist, can I assist you? And just making the first step. What do I need to do to get to execute this happening? And sometimes you just, I wouldn't say like quit your corporate job to go become a makeup artist. You can be a makeup artist after work, on the weekends, do weddings, do proms, do, photo shoots on the weekend. And then hopefully when things get a little more steady, because this work is weird, it's erratic. They don't pay, I don't get paid. People don't really realize this. I don't get paid for at least 30 days when my agents book me something. So it could be 30 to 90 days. And so a lot of people would be really uncomfortable with that because, you're not getting a steady paycheck. So a lot of people will have a different job. So, when I do weddings or if I do, personal clients, I, get paid immediately, but so you kind of just have to be aware of that. But I think also if you're loving the process, I have loved when I started Pretty Girl, working with the chemist and figuring out what ingredients to put in. I've loved every step of the way. And I think if you don't love every step and the process, you're going to resent the work and you're going to fail because you're not enjoying it. And it takes so much more, to be exceptional. There is a lot of sacrifice. It's not just like, people will look at my career and go, oh, look at her. She's so lucky she does that. Now I busted my ass to get where I am. I did a lot of jobs for free. I wake up at 4 a.m. I've woken up at midnight to go do a client that's going to be on TV and had to be ready at 3 a.m. Like, it's hard work and you're on your feet and you're taking care of people. It's exhausting sometimes, but I love it and it's worth it to me. But it's not, people can look at what what anyone puts out into the world. You're seeing what I want you to see of my life. You're not seeing the bumps and the turns and the upside down and the, drama of life sometimes. I'm going to put out the real, I'm not going to sit and put out there all the, things that are not going great. I mean, I'm more private that way. So I kind of keep things to myself, but I'm having a hard time.
You mentioned earlier looking for somebody that can help you, somebody to give advice or kind of a mentor.
Yes.
I have struggled for a long time in understanding why a lot of women don't want to support other women. They are very competitive, which I'm competitive. But, I've been saying there's room for all of us. We can all be successful. So in your industry, which many might think would be more cutthroat than others, have you found it to be that way? Or have you found that women do support each other more and do want one another to succeed?
I think women that are successful want other women to be successful. I think it's women that don't feel good about themselves, that are insecure, have a harder time. For example, today, one of my friends is starting a clean beauty magazine. And she asked me to go to an event and she asked me to see if I could get her on California Live on NBC to do a segment. And I just said, of course, absolutely. I'll do whatever I can do to help you. And she was like, it was almost like she was shocked that I said that I would help her. But like, of course, why wouldn't I help her? We all help each other. And I think that's just shameful I don't want to say all women are like that. I mean, I think men are like, people in general can be like that. But I think I have no problem. I'm very happy if someone calls me and needs advice or whatever. I'm more than happy to help. I just think it's part of the deal of when what an honor if someone actually respects you enough and what you do to want your opinion and ask for your help. So I 100% help men, women, whoever needs me to help them. I'm more than happy to do that.
I want to talk a little bit about Pretty Girl and kind of that process, because it's wildly different to go from applying makeup to creating it. So what led you to want to do that? And what was the most difficult part of it for you jumping into that kind of new world?
Well, I started it because I was in a fight with my water bottle that you're going to start having a fight with and my lip gloss. I couldn't get it to stay on longer than 2 sips. And it was driving me crazy. And, everyone that I would try was like matte and drying and like made my lips feel weird. And I'm like, ugh. So I thought, well, how hard, this is when ignorance is bliss. How hard can it be to make your own lip gloss? Like, ugh, like everyone should be able to do that. Right. Yeah, no, and it's funny because Tyler always says, if everyone knew how hard it was to be exceptional, no one would do a goddamn thing. It's better that you don't know how, but so I started working with a beauty chemist. And it took over a year to formulate the color and the consistency and the packaging, everything. It took so much more time, money, effort, everything than I thought. But I did enjoy the process. I tried it on my friends and got feedback and then sent it to the chemist. And it just kind of started from there. And I'm starting a new company now called I'm Too Busy, because I am kind of sometimes. And because I've heard so many times from my clients, I go to a department store and I'm overwhelmed with all the products and I'm sold, people get sold a bunch of makeup that they don't need. It doesn't fit their lifestyle and they don't have the makeup skills to do the contouring, the highlighting, all this stuff. And so I want there to be and I don't see how you're going to get brand loyalty if you're selling people stuff that they just put in a drawer. How much stuff do you have in a drawer that, I'm going to use one day? But you don't use it.
Get rid of it.
So get rid of it. So you know what I do? I put those in a little gift bag and go drop it at some friend's house, give it to a friend. It's like a hostess gift or something. So I think I've started doing that and it just little by little, taking the first step. You just have to start. And it always, everything always works itself out, I think.
So give us a little sneak peek into this new company and what it's going to do for people.
I'm too busy. I'm sorry. I kind of went on.
It's okay. I'm excited about it. So I got to know.
Anyway, I want there to just be stuff for your, for your skincare. There's going to be a 3-step process. So we're doing a reverse cleansing. So instead, my chemist said to me, what do you do first thing in the morning? And I said, I know, splash my face with water. And he said, no, wrong. That is, do you drink the water that you put on your face? And I'm like, fuck no. And he's like, okay, I rest my case. How does your skin feel when you splash water? I'm like, kind of dry and tight. And so if we put a cleanser and a moisturizer on and then put the water on, there's like a protective barrier to keep the skin hydrated and not feeling tight. So, and then the third step would be protection, like a vitamin C serum. That's a protection. So 3 steps, super easy. Again, people go to these stores, buy these very elaborate skincares, and they don't use it. If you're not consistent with your skincare, it doesn't work. Doesn't matter how expensive it is. So I want it to be something that you can do twice a day that's super easy. And for the makeup, I want there to be something for brows, concealer, some shadow, liner, mascara, cheek, and lip, the end. I don't want there to be tons and tons of things because I just want them all to go together. And I want people to look, if you go to ChristinaFlach.com and look at my portfolio, you'll see that all the faces look fresh, dewy skin, nice bright eyes, the brows are defined. But you don't really see, there's some pictures that are like crazy, colorful, makeup. But typically when I'm doing a photo shoot for lifestyle, it's just someone looking just fresh and dewy and nice bright eyes. And nothing's really sticking out because I don't want there to be going, ooh, blue eyeshadow, orange, yellow, green. I don't want that. I just want you to go, God, she looks pretty. And so when you're picking out a foundation, do you pick it lighter or do you get it darker? How do you I get asked that all the time. I have had people tell me, I match it with the inside of my arm, my hand, my foot. I've heard literally everything. And I'm like, wouldn't you think you just match it with your skin?
Right.
So you don't want it lighter. You don't want it darker. You want it to disappear. And that is the right color for the foundation and concealer. You just want it to disappear because that way it just looks really fresh and light. If it's too dark, you look dirty.
Yes, you look dirty. And I don't know about you, but I'm all different colors. You know what I mean?
Of course we are. My skin, my face is totally pale because, that's another one of my, it's like hat, glasses, sunscreen, protection, like the whole thing. And, that's another thing, sunscreen, 365 days of the year. I don't care if it's snowing, raining, whatever, you need it. Also, it's on the face, the neck, and the chest, and the hands. The hands show age. I was with my agent in Palm Springs. I will never forget. He's so funny, Jay. And we were having tea and he goes, see all these women around here? Look at their faces. I'm like, yeah, they look good. And he goes, yeah, now look at their hands. And I'm like, oh, the hands really can show some age.
And they do. They are not forgiving, I would say.
No, hands are not. So we actually do need to put sunscreen on the hands and, reapplying. I hear people, including my sons, they're the worst. they golf, they're outside all day.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm, at the beginning of the round, I'm like, "Do you put sunscreen on?" Yeah. I go at the end of the, first 9 holes, the second 9 holes, I'm like, "Reapply." And he's like, "Oh, I did it this morning." I'm like, "It's gone. You sweat. Add some more." I'm like, "I don't need you looking more wrinkled than me." Okay.
Right. Right. When can we be on the lookout for I'm too busy?
Well, I am looking right now for my investors. We are in the midst of that because my American Express and I have kind of come to agreement that I'm not going to keep funding this company on my own. I can't compete against all these influencers, without it. So I'm hoping in the next 6 months to a year at the latest, but it's going to be soon. But I'm starting a new TV show that I'm hosting called I'm Too Busy. So I'm going to interview all the people that I work, the different people that I work with, and find out, what was your process like? Or, do you have balance in your life? Like, what steps did it take for you to get to be this successful? So I think it's going to be really fun and interesting. And, men and women, everyone's too busy. Everyone at least thinks they're too busy.
Right. Right. Whether
so
they really are.
Yes, I think the title resonates with everybody.
It definitely does. So I want to be on the lookout for that.
Thank you.
What is one thing, speaking to women who aren't comfortable with makeup, what is one thing that they could easily do that's not overwhelming, that might make them feel just that much better? One simple step.
Okay. Concealer underneath the eye and on the eyelid. Because there's always discoloration under the eye and on the eyelid. So if we can just even it out and get rid of like the little vein lines, that'll make a huge difference. And then following that up with filling in your brows. It is shocking how washed out we look without brows being defined. I think that's huge. And then just throwing a little mascara on brightens you up. Little lip, little cheek, and you're good to go. It doesn't need to be a big thing. It literally can take you 5 minutes or less to just.
It can be easy.
It can be super easy. Don't be afraid of it. Just try it. Q-tips are your friend. You make a mistake, blend it out, wipe it off, try something new. We did a beauty dare challenge. And what that was, for the people that wore a lot of makeup, tone it down 5 notches. And for the people that wear very minimal or no makeup, take it up a few notches. And the question was, how do you feel? Because people are so attached to how they feel with their makeup. They do it a certain way. And if they don't do it that certain way, they feel off. I have to be kind of respectful of my clients when they're in front of the camera, because I can't do any drastic changes because they're going to be distracted when they're in front of the camera. And we can't have that. So everyone out there, give it a try. Tone it down or tone it up and see why do you feel so uncomfortable?
I love it. That's everybody's homework.
That's your homework. That and drinking the water.
Yes, that's my homework.
Water drink. That's yours.
Well, Christina, before I let you go, I want us to take a quick turn, but we're going to keep having fun because we've been having fun with makeup here. But now we're going to have fun with permanent makeup. Per se. Okay. We're going to talk a little bit about tattoos. I love tattoos. I have many tattoos, wearing short sleeves today. Now, I know that you actually have a tattoo. And I think a lot of people, if they're looking at you,
would never
might be surprised. Yes. Would never
As
think
am I.
So, so I would love it if you would share why you got the tattoo that you got and what it means to you.
Well, my sister-in-law, Katie Flach, she had her husband's name tattooed on her finger. And so my husband and I, one night, we were out having dinner and drinks, and we're like, let's get a tattoo of our initials on our right hand. So that is where mine is. It's on my finger. It's a C and a K. There it is. And I am not planning on getting any more. I kind of feel like I feel like right now people are overly tattooed. I just, when I see people that are covered on their legs and arms and everywhere, it's so permanent. And I don't know if I can't think of anything that I want permanently on my body till I'm 100 years old.
Right.
You know? So
it's interesting that you say that, because there is a court case going on right now with a gentleman in Florida. And I was actually talking about him earlier because he has all these face tattoos and like stitches around his lips and teeth. And it's very bizarre. It's very disconcerting. The swastika is the worst, I will say.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But
It's aggressive.
So my rule is no face, no neck, to each his own. But if you have face tattoos, I'm gonna think you committed a crime. Like that's just how I feel.
So it's interesting that you say that, because my TV husband that I do California Live with has a lot of face tattoos. And it's funny. On him, it doesn't bother me, but on everyone else, like I agree. I think you're a murderer,
right?
Or a gang member. That's so judgmental, isn't it?
I will say your TV husband he's adorable. So
isn't he adorable?
He doesn't look scary or murdery.
No, he's adorable.
Yeah.
And he'd love that I'm talking about him.
So he's the exception to.
He is the exception to the tattoo. Yes. It's funny because now I look at him and I don't even notice them.
Right.
I just don't even see it. But I know that other people see him and they're like, huh, that's your TV husband. I go, yeah, isn't he cute?
Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah.
Well, where can people find you? So if they want to follow your journey personally and professionally, if they want to look at some of the philanthropic work that you're doing and maybe contribute to that, or if they want to get in on some makeup business,
yes,
where can they find you?
Okay, so if you would like to see my work and videos and see my TV husband and I on TV, go to ChristinaFlach.com and you can scroll down to see videos, California Live, PrettyGirlMakeup.com, Instagram, Facebook, X, TikTok. And then if you would like to donate to sepsis.org, you can go there, or to the Northern Lights School in Oakland, California. On their homepage, there's a place that says donate now. So that would be great. Thank you.
Christina, you have been absolutely amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I
for being so willing, to share so much of your personal story and how it's affected you, but then to also let us dip our toes into some fun things and just have a good time together. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to the Strong Enough podcast. You can find us on your favorite podcast platform by searching Strong Enough. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Strong Enough Pod. If you have suggestions for an upcoming episode or a future guest, please reach out at strongenoughpod@gmail.com. Remember, you are worth it.